Welcome to the Crew Up North podcast. My name is Jennifer. Today on the show, I'm interviewing film and TV hairstylist extraordinaire Ashley Nay.
Colors, mullets, skullets. Kind of voluntold to paint this dog.
Ashley has spent the last 12 years working on everything from independent short films to award-winning shows like Cardinal, Trickster, and Happy Place.
It's such a fun show to work on. But like when the director is like pissing his pants laughing every single take.
She's worked her way up to head of department and has even been nominated for 4 Canadian Screen Awards.
The Academy membership votes on who's going to be like put up as a nomination.
She's the vice president of the IATSE Local 634 Union and is currently in prep for season 4 of Shoresy.
I've always wanted like people to have a voice, and like where people were so good to me getting into it, I wanted to help people also get into it.
And we're going to discuss how she's done all of that right here in Northern Ontario.
So little to believe in.
I got us some treats. As you choke on your coffee and die. So I went to Cozy Cuisine in Callander, and they make these really delicious soft baked pretzels.
They look really soft.
Yeah. They're
but
pillowy.
Also crunchy at the same time, you know?
Yeah, soft, pillowy, crunchy.
It's going to have a good mouthfeel, I can tell.
And, okay. So they gave us honey mustard for dipping. Now, there was the option of the cheese sauce, but I wasn't sure if I could warm it up here.
Right, and then it's just like sludge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's fair. It's probably a good choice.
Yeah. So we have that. And then we also have some baked goods. This first one here is ginger and white chocolate chip.
What?
And then the other one is like a classic oatmeal regular chocolate chip, which is one of my favorite combinations.
I thought you were say oatmeal raisin. I was going to tell you to go fuck yourself.
That would have been fair.
Even do that?
Yeah. I should do that next time though. Play a little trick.
Yeah. Just tell everyone it's chocolate chip though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
quickly dig into some of these. Actually, I want to try pretzel.
I can't reach any of it.
God. So needy already. Here you go.
Oh my God. They're really dense.
And you can make a mess all over yourself because I didn't come prepared for this here.
That's okay.
That. And I'm going to take a bite.
I'm going to take a rip. Or I'll definitely get salt everywhere.
That's so good.
As my jaw pops.
Worth it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Holy smokes. Salty. It's exactly how we described it, actually.
Mm-hmm. Pillowy.
I'm not usually a fan of honey mustard, but...
Neither am I, so I'm nervous. But if you're not and you like it...
I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to drip it all over my new outfit. It's honey mustardy.
Okay.
So if you don't like honey mustard, then I would say you'd skip it. But yeah, they're in Callander. They're at 102 Main Street North in Callander, open Wednesday to Sunday, and it's like a mother-son duo that owns it, and the mom does all of the baking. They have lunch menu, and you can actually make this soft pretzel into a breakfast sandwich.
What?
Yeah, I've had it before. It's really good.
What do they put on it? Like just do they have different types or just
egg for sure? And I can't remember if there was avocado on it, possibly some sort of sauce. Yeah, it was good. It was messy, but it was delicious.
Everything delicious is messy.
Yeah. That's true. So yeah, people in North Bay, if you haven't tried them out, you should go. And if you're not from North Bay, well, then what the hell are you waiting for? Just come on over here and try Cozy Cuisine. There you go. So, do you remember the first moment that you thought to yourself, I want to take my hair skills and transfer them to film and TV?
So I don't necessarily remember the very first moment, but it's definitely like when I was in hair. So my first day of hairstyling school, I went to hairstyling school at Modern College in North Bay. And our first day was sort of like, we were in a classroom kind of setting, and they just wanted to like find out who everyone was and like where they wanted to go with what they were doing there, basically. So I had mentioned that like I would love to get into like film and television, or like even like editorial type things. Aside from the salon environment, I also wanted to like kind of do that. And apparently that was the first time anyone had ever given that answer, which is interesting. And it wasn't until years later, because I was like, obviously I'll have to move to Toronto if I want to do that. And if I want to stay up north, then
That's
like,
what I thought. Yep.
I'm not going to do it, because this was back in 2005, I think. And anyways, that teacher remembered that, because flash forward to 2011, I think, and there was like some super low budget show coming to the north. The productions up here sort of had just begun, like in and around maybe 2010 or something.
Yeah.
In and around there, I
I
think.
think Kids in the Hall was around 2010.
Yeah, because Tyler started in film before I did. And anyways, they reached out to the school trying to find assistants, and the teacher remembered that I actually wanted to get into film and television, so she gave them my name.
Really?
Yeah, so she's the reason I got into film, and it was such a shit show. It was the worst. Like, it was awful.
Was it because it was low budget?
It was really low budget. I found out halfway through the show that I wasn't getting paid.
No. That's low budget. That's no budget.
The head of department didn't even, she assumed I was getting paid. So it was like this whole weird thing. We had a meeting with like the PM. And then she was like, basically told me like she understood if I didn't want to do it anymore, and was totally cool with it. She's like, no hard feelings, like, you know. And I was like, no, I still kind of want to see it through as much as I'm pissed. I still like the experience. And it was funny because on that show, there were grips who had never gripped before, and they got paid. So there's a whole wage gap thing.
Really?
You know what I mean? It was very blatant on that show.
Yeah.
They don't take our trade seriously. And anyway, she promised to get me on like her next show in the north, because she knew she was going to be coming back up. Because at this point we had no one in the north that was really doing this full time. And so she called me. This would have been like the following, like early the next year. She called me to go to Sudbury with her, and I was like, cool, like, let's do this, you know, let's get on a real show. And I remember,
let's get
paid. Even then, it still wasn't like, it's whatever, it's fine. But I got paid regardless. She brought me on. She said she saw something in me that she wanted to let me experience more of it. And I remember getting the call sheet the night before, and like I still didn't really understand what a call sheet was. But I was looking through it, and like I'm reading the names off, and it said Ryan Reynolds, and I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I was like,
I know
there's no way I'm like, this has to be like,
this is a joke.
This is a joke, or
It's a
like
fake
this
call
is
sheet.
Yeah, or
Since
like
you don't know how to read it anyway.
I don't know how to read it, so I'm like, maybe someone's playing Ryan Reynolds. I don't know. Anyways, get to Sudbury, and we were when we shot it, it was called Queen of the Night.
Yep.
And it had Ryan Reynolds, Rosario Dawson, Scott Speedman. Who's the other actor from the suit? Kevin Durand was in it. And I was just like an assistant. I was doing basically like, I would help with finals on set. I didn't process anybody. And then I was doing background as well. But
Double dip.
it was like
the classic double dip.
the classic.
Did you get paid for background though?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because
Yeah,
sometimes
the whole show I
they
got paid
throw
for. Yeah.
crew members in there.
No. Sorry, I was doing
like
processing background.
Oh, I
not
see.
as
Okay.
background. No, they can't hire me. I was cops and shit. I don't look like a cop.
I did one day of background on that show. and
Really?
I don't know if it was the last day.
Did I know you yet?
I don't think so. And we were shooting, I think it was like a prison scene. So I was a prison visitor.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a cutout of Ryan Reynolds in background holding, which I took a photo of. And there was someone's random puppy wandering around. But Ryan Reynolds was not there that day, which I was very disappointed about.
That is disappointing.
Yeah. So how was Ryan Reynolds when he did his finals?
He was lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like a super nice dude. Like, you know, you at this, like, I don't know. It was just like, he was super chill. He didn't, obviously I didn't see like the inner workings of like the trailer, but I can't imagine him being like a difficult person in there at all. Like, he was just like a really nice person. Would always thank you after doing finals, whatever. Like, you know, just a really nice dude.
That's
for sure.
awesome.
Yeah. And then I met another hairstylist on that show who like brought me onto a it just literally snowballed from there, and I've been like pretty steady ever since.
That's great. And so either the first show, the shit show that you're talking about, or this one, like even though the first show was a shit show, were you still like, I love being here, but this is a weird atmosphere, or were you like having to ease into it?
It was fun, because there was no like union affiliation or anything. I was sort of like helping out with makeup as well, which was weird because I'm like, I don't have a makeup kit at this point. Like, I don't do makeup. But
Nice, nailed
nice.
it.
Right.
10 out of 10.
It was like, I had no experience at that point other than my hair experience. But like, I could still tell that it was a shit show. You know what I mean? Like, it just like, it literally, without knowing what a real film was supposed to like be like produced like, I just, you know, it seemed weird. It seemed kind of slimy. Like, just everything about it was kind of gross.
Yeah. Especially when they didn't
pay me, but then, you know, paid some other people. But it's fine.
You've done very well for yourself.
That's it. Like, it got me. I was able to work with that exact hairstylist multiple times. Like, every time she came up, she would hire me. She would pass my name along to others in Toronto who were coming up. So it still really helped kickstart my career.
Yeah.
Which, like, even if it's, you know, kind of a shitty experience, it's still an experience, right? Yep. I didn't get hurt. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, it's still something.
I feel the same way about auditioning. Like, I've had reoccurring roles and bigger roles and stuff, but I still audition for the one-liners because I still want casting to see me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, so I feel like every opportunity is an important one.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So you started as an assistant, and then you quickly moved up to key and head of department within like a year or so, right?
It was 2 years. Someone had asked me to head a department on a show, and I was like, no. And then he was like, please? And I'm like, no. Like, I'm not.
That's the argument he had?
Yeah.
Like, if I say
like,
please, she'll do it?
And then he started begging me, and I'm like, hey, this is getting embarrassing.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I'm not a head of department. I don't know so much of like the behind the scenes of my department.
Because at that point they would have been bringing in people from
Exactly.
Toronto or Vancouver or something, right?
Yeah, mostly Toronto. It was mostly, at this point in time, it was mostly like NABET union people who were up here. So I was working with a lot of NABET hairstylists and all that. But so like, I just didn't, like, I wasn't, in my opinion, ready. And I don't even think this PM thought like he saw something in me. It was more just like, I'm a tax credit.
Right.
Let's let this girl head the department. You know what I mean? Like, he wanted to do it as cheaply as possible,
Because
which is fair.
For those who don't know, there is a tax credit that productions can get.
Yeah,
by
they
shooting
get
in Northern
like,
Ontario.
I forget the actual percentage, but it's in and around 50% they get back for our wages. They get a certain amount of points for head of departments that are northern, a certain amount of points for keys or assistants that are northern.
So it's in their favor to hire more northern crew.
Yeah. And like a lot of the shows, especially in the beginning, they wouldn't have been made if it weren't for the tax credits. They were willing to spend the money to come up here in order to get their shows made. So like, you know, it definitely worked out in getting us kind of situated, but like, no one should head a department within 2 years. Like, that's not enough. That's not enough time.
Especially because there wasn't a lot going on.
Exactly.
At that time.
Yeah. Like, it's all still pretty new. Either way, it was fine. It was called Shelby, the dog who saved Christmas.
No, it was not.
Yes, it was. It was a beagle. I had to paint a beagle. I had to paint the double beagle that we had.
Oh shoot! This is what was going to be one of my questions later, but
About painting animals or just
about
processing
animals.
It was funny because like the animal wrangler wanted nothing to do with it. I'm like, this is your dog. Like you should be doing this. This is your baby. You know what I mean? And like, secondly, it should have been the makeup artist to do it. It's literally painting. Like, yes, it's hair, but it's still body hair, which like in film, body hair is makeup, not a hairstylist.
Okay. Beards, that type of thing.
Yes, exactly. So I got kind of voluntold to paint this dog.
Kind of the best show to become a key on or head of department, right?
Yeah, like it was I don't know, it was a weird one. But it was fun. It was fine. We had Chevy Chase and Tom Arnold were two of our actors in it.
Okay.
Which was pretty fun. And it ended up being like Rob Schneider voiced the dog. He never came up north. It was all like ADR. Yeah, you should watch. I have it on DVD.
I must have been, I think I was working
It was
full
Perry
time at this
Sound.
time.
This was Perry Sound. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember what year it was. But yeah, I've actually worked with that PM since then.
And
like
dog,
we literally, and never the dog. I've never seen the dog. The dog's name was Pepsi.
Oh, shut up. You're making this up.
I'm not.
Should
It
we
was
FaceTime
so
him?
funny
Should we get him
because,
on
like,
FaceTime right now and see if he remembers you?
The dog wrangler, she had this little whistle. And like when she was trying to get the dog's attention, it would just be like, beep, beep, Pepsi, beep, beep, Pepsi. And we were just like, shut the fuck up. It was funny.
I've only been on one show where they've had like a substantial amount of dog wrangling. And Hudson and Rex.
Okay. You use such a same animal wrangler.
Oh, really?
It was Sherry.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because they're having to do commands to the dog while the actors are having a conversation, and the actors have to pretend
she's just screaming
like,
across set. Yeah.
The actors are
I
pretending.
don't know
like
how
she
they
doesn't
do
exist.
it. I don't know
either.
how they work that with sound. There's just so much overlap, and like the whole thing has to be ADR or something. Like,
well, yeah, because it's otherwise it's just the dog wrangler yelling like, "No, sit, no,
yeah,
you
exactly."
Sit.
There was another show I'd worked with her and her team on, and we had like a golden retriever. It was called Christmas with Tucker.
I'm wondering if I did that.
It was a Hallmark or
Was that in
whatever.
Perry Sound?
No, it was North Bay.
Okay, then no. I missed all the dog ones.
And one of the dogs' name was Spitfire, and like we're trying to get this dog to like run across like this field or something, like he's like going to get his little buddy, and she's just yelling, "Spitty, come! Spit, come! Spitty, come!" I'm dying in a fucking ditch. Like I can't listen to this for the whole scene. She's just yelling it like, "Spitty, come!" And I'm like, "Stop." I don't think you know what you're saying.
Yeah, you don't realize how that's coming across. Were there children around? Or?
Oh yeah, like the actor the dog was trying to find is a child.
Okay.
Probably didn't even register any of it. Obviously she didn't. I'm like, just call her Spitfire. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to shorten it.
Yeah, do the whole thing.
Do the
in
whole
this
thing.
situation.
Yeah.
It's best. So did you have to process that dog too? How do you
No.
process a dog?
A lot of the times, like you don't really. I haven't had too many experiences where I've actually had to process animals. The one on Shelby was because so like one dog was really good at running and like one dog was really good at like sitting down, like just two completely different personalities. So, like one was used for like the high energy scenes, the other one was used for like the more chill scenes type thing, right? And they didn't match.
Oh.
So like I had to literally take the double dog and make it look as close to the real dog as possible, that at least on camera you don't know the difference.
Like you give him a
between the
comb
two.
over or something?
No, I
mustache?
literally, it was funny because they were like, can't you just go get streaks and tips? Which was always the like, it's like spray, like hairspray paint. It's really harsh. It's full of alcohol. It comes off like easy with alcohol, harder with water.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm not using that on a fucking dog. Like there's, like I personally can't use that on a dog. Like that just seems like it's not the right product.
So their haircuts match, but their coloring didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Their coloring did not, which is again why it should have been a makeup artist sort of thing. It was more the like like painting the spots to give like,
Right.
you know. So I ended up going to like the Perry Sound Walmart that night and getting like a shit ton of kids paints, like non-toxic paint, to be like, I don't know what else to use on this thing. Like, I'm assuming at some point kids paint's been tested on animals, so as long as I'm not the one doing it,
Right.
like, you know, or at least the ingredients of the kids paint have probably been tested on animals, unfortunately. But so I just wanted to use something that was going to be safe enough, that would come off easy enough. If I had to reapply it, I didn't care. It was more like the dog was so scared. Like, she was just like sitting on my little processing table, like shaking as I was painting her. And I felt awful. I'm like, this is like the worst job ever. It wasn't. It was just like, you know, kind of.
Did she get used to it by the end?
Yeah, like she was fine. She didn't love it for sure, but she got like a little more like comfortable, I guess, with being abused on set. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't abuse. It was just, you know, I don't want to say that.
So, you started with Shelby.
Yeah, that was my first.
That was your first key.
Yeah, they called it Key because Nabet, the Key was the head of department. It's IATSE that does the head of department, then Key, then just Hairstylist. But
So then what was the next show that you were either key or head of department, excuse me, that you really got into the groove more of doing the job?
I feel like, I don't know when the next head of department one was or what it would have been without actually looking at my like IMDb.
Or what's the next one that sticks out in your mind that you're like, that was a pretty cool show, that was a good experience?
There's this producer named Justin Kelly, who I love with like my entire
Love
heart.
him too, he's great.
It's so great.
We're eating, by the way, if you're only listening to this. Sorry, chewing in your ears.
And he'd hired Tyler for a couple of shows.
Tyler's your husband.
Yes. He's a key grip in Northern Ontario.
Also amazing human.
He done, I think, like at least 2 or 3 with him before I was like getting into film really. So when Justin found out that, you know, I was a thing, that he wanted to give me a chance as well. So he hired me on a show called, I think Unearthing was the first Justin Kelly show I did. That was shot in Perry Sound, or no, Sudbury. It was Sudbury area. And it had, you know, it wasn't like Shelby where everyone's wearing winter hats. It was actually like,
You could actually process
you could
people.
actually process people, and like there was more women, which, you know, habitually have a different process than a lot of the men do. So I got to like kind of learn more about how to build my characters and like establishing looks and changing looks through different scenes and things like that.
And that is that all of your decision, or you work with someone?
It's usually a decision between it's definitely a collaboration between like director, sometimes producers, the actor themselves. If depending on the show, a lot of the times like the director will have like a direction they want to take people in. Obviously it depends on the hair they have, unless they want to do something more extreme like color someone's hair, which I've had to do for shows, or wig someone like we've had to do for some shows, just to give them a completely different look. But I do get some input in it, just to also, like, I feel like my job as a head of department is to try to like reel back some stuff. Like if they want to get too extreme with some of the looks or changes, it's my job to sort of remind them that like this will take time. So if you don't want this to take, I'm all for it, we will do this. But if it's going to take too much time and you're going to be breathing down my neck doing all these changes,
Right.
then we need to figure out something that's a little easier or a little more natural or more time. It's one of the answers. And usually more natural is what wins in that argument, for sure.
That's cool though. Have there been certain looks that you were really hoping for, and it kind of went the opposite way, where production was like, well, we don't want to take the time or resources to have to do all that to someone?
Not really. Like a lot of the times it's just like a really kind of a good open conversation sort of like helps that. Or like knowing, like say you're having a discussion with the actor with the director, and they want them to look a certain way, but we don't even have that actor yet.
Okay.
Then it's sort of up in the air until we know what that actor looks like, what their hairstyle already looks like, or what they're willing to do. Some people are willing to cut their hair shorter. Some people aren't.
Mullets.
Colors, mullets.
Skullets.
Yeah, skullets are
Let
a
the
thing
skullet
too.
make a comeback. If it hasn't
you
already.
Want it to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not for me, but for you, maybe.
If you ever ask me for a skullet.
Ashley's also my personal hairdresser. So, not to brag, but I'll be showing off a skullet next week.
I mean, we could. That's one way to stop it from growing too fast.
Right? Oh, that reminds me. I need to like pluck my hair for you and show you how much regrowth I already have from last week.
Oh my God.
It's travesty.
It's travesty.
I mean, it's a good problem, but so.
It's a good problem to have, for sure. It's still annoying.
Yeah.
I'm not going to discredit that, but yeah, it's a good problem to have.
So you've basically done all of the positions, right? And you know, there are times where there's multiple things shooting here, and you're not going to be able to be a key or head of department on every show. So what's it like to sort of go back and forth between head of department and assistant?
I love being the head of department because I get the most creativity and the most say in a lot of the looks. And then sometimes it is nice to like do like a step below as a key or a step below that as an assistant, or even a daily where I just have less responsibility. So I'm just like on set, like, you know.
Yeah. Then you get to leave
I don't
at the
have
end
to
of the
talk
day.
to producers. I get to leave at the end of the day. I don't have to have email conversations, like none of that shit.
Right.
But every once in a while you do work as like a position, like a key or an assist or a daily. And then it's like, maybe in my head I'm disagreeing like obviously I would never say it. Because it's their show, it's their department, it's how they run it. But we're like, maybe things I would do differently, or not having that control over certain things kind of like sometimes is kind of like less fun, you know?
Yeah.
So I find I'm always like at the beginning of the show, if I'm like especially an assistant, I'm just like, yes, like no responsibility. And then I'm just like, cool, I'm literally following. Like you just don't get the same creativity a lot of the times. Depends on your head of department. Sometimes they, like when I'm a head of department, I give my key pretty free range. Because if I didn't trust them, I wouldn't hire them.
Right. And you hire them based off of, I mean, at this point, you know so many people, but at first, were you hiring them based off of their resume?
Yeah,
or?
a lot of times resume, vibe. I'm like a huge vibes person. If our vibes don't like mingle, then you're out. But you have to also have like, someone who can take direction really well, someone who can step up when I'm not there. Like if I'm not on set and the director wants something different, or like say we're doing a scene and we've never shot, and so there's nothing in continuity, we've never shot anything around that scene before, and the director wants to say like, oh, let's just put her hair in a ponytail. Ooh. Fucking do it.
Yeah.
They're your boss, not me. Like they're the top. Don't waste time texting me to find, like, as long as it's not in continuity, then it's absolutely up to them and they can do it. Just do it. Take photos so that we can keep it in our book.
Yep.
And maintain it if we have to go back to it. But some people do get like a little nervous about being on set not with their head of department, and being asked to do certain things or whatever.
So how important are connections, do you think, in this business? Because, you know, regular jobs, like you're at this point, like you're emailing resumes, half the time people don't read them, and you never see anyone.
I scour
face-to-face.
resumes.
Yeah.
I will have you know.
Good.
Yeah. I break down every single little bit of someone's resume if I'm getting it and I don't know who the person is. But yeah, connections are huge. Like a lot of film isn't even necessarily like your resume, it's who you know.
Yeah.
If you know a producer, you worked with a producer in the past, like again going back to like Justin Kelly, he wants to hire me all the time. Every project he has coming up north, he wants me to be his head of department on. Unless for some reason like other producers want somebody else for specific reasons or whatever. But then he still pushes for me to key for them. Whether it's in my town or say Sudbury. So like they would have to put me up and give me per diem, whatever. So like it's nice to have someone who will go to bat for you like at all times. From what he said to me, like he literally just gives them my resume or my name and it's just like, this is my girl, like this is who we're hiring,
and y'all can fuck it
basically unless you have something really specific you need and you really want somebody else, like this is the person that you're gonna hire.
That's an
which
amazing
is really
connection.
Awesome. He's the best. He's so loyal. He's loyal to his crew, which in turn makes the crew really loyal to him. Like I had a toss up this year between doing a show called Sweetness, which we just wrapped mid-May, and doing SkyMed.
Right.
And which one did I choose? Sweetness. Because number one, I was the head of department on it, and it's creative. It was a lot of fun, but it's Justin Kelly. So like I will do basically anything for that man. Like
SkyMed is a great show. It's just
totally
that the looks were gonna be
the same basic thing. It's a longer running show. It was like probably 4 times the length of what Sweetness was. So like it would have been a smarter move financially.
I was gonna say, so you chose the
sure.
creativity over the money, which is I think honestly anyone has a creative job in this industry, which most of us do, but you especially, like you would have to make those choices and choose creativity at some point, otherwise you're just going to go insane.
Exactly. It's
especially with the amount of hours that we work.
That's it too. And in a show that's like a longer running show, and if it's not, I mean, they had some fun stuff in that show for sure, like some fun looks, but like I was more, if I don't want to be bored for 4 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be like understimulated, and I want to be able to either be creative and have fun or learn something. I definitely would have learned something from that hair department. I'm sure of it. They all seem to be pretty fantastic, but
I think that's a really cool answer, because anytime I get my haircut from you, I always feel like I learned something from you. Like
me sassing you about your fucking washing habits or whatever.
Pretty much. It's actually so when I got my hair done last week, I was like, and it was, for some reason it had grown like a substantial amount within a month, like over an inch, I think.
Yeah, like it's definitely well above the average hair growth.
Right.
Sure.
And I didn't have an air conditioner at that, like until like maybe a few days before I had come in. So I was washing my hair, going to bed with my hair wet, which I almost never do, but it was I didn't want one more hot thing near my face. All right. That's anyway,
that's fair.
I say this to her because my hair kind of looked dead, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm washing my hair and going to bed, and
I'm like stop, stop right there.
So funny, the look on your face. You're like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I thought it was fine.
No, hair is so much more fragile when it's wet. So like number one, the pulling on it, there's just the friction from the pillow, and like I'm pretty sure you told me you sleep like a monster. You don't just like
I'm like a carp,
tin soldier,
just like flip flopping all over the place.
Exactly. So like you're literally shredding your hair as you sleep.
Well, now that I know that, I did not do that yesterday. I washed it this morning, dried it, then I curled it. I know.
Would you have not dried it to curl it any other time?
No, I would have.
Okay,
but I'm just letting you know.
We have more conversations to have after this if that's what you're doing.
Set it on fire and then I straighten it.
Right.
Yeah.
I see, but you didn't wash it yesterday, go to sleep with it wet,
right? Yeah.
And then wake up and
trying
curl
to prove
it.
that I actually did listen to you.
I love that. I appreciate that. It's all for you. It's out of love. I promise.
But no, I do learn. I learn stuff from you every time. I am a naturally curious person. I ask you all sorts of weird questions, and you always have an answer.
I love it. No, I love questions. No, there's literally like the thing I say the most, and like to anybody, whether it's like people on set or like people in my chair, is like there's no stupid question.
Yeah.
Like you don't know something or you're curious about something, like I'm going to give you that answer if I can. If I can't, obviously, like, but
I think that also shows though that you really love your job.
I do.
Which is awesome.
I was literally like, go back to like Weenie when, I was a baby. Weenie?
Little Ashley, aka Weenie.
Weenie. I was the fucking kid that like I would cut the dog's hair, I would cut doll's hair, like no Barbie was safe. Like if it had hair, it was coming off. It's in some way or some shape.
And were these good haircuts? Or were they...
I mean, not like they weren't. Like I was using kitchen scissors. Like I didn't.
So pretty good then.
No,
5 out of 10.
Yeah, let's go. Let's tops. So like, I've always wanted to do hair. I've always known I wanted to do hair. And it's funny because like my dad used to he didn't want me to being a hairstylist because it's not a real job.
Oh, Dad.
It's a side gig. And I think I came with, so.
Who was cutting his hair all these years, huh?
A barber.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
Who
owned a barber shop,
Mm-hmm.
One of his best friends from like growing up, like since they were kids, was a hairdresser. She had like a little setup in her house on a dairy farm. So the farm was their main job. My dad's like hopefully he doesn't see this. A little close-minded sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I feel like to him, he saw that they had a farm. That was their bread and butter. And then she just did hair on the side and that was it, right? So he wanted me to go to school for something else. Didn't want me to do hairstyling. Went to school for a year, fucking hated it.
You're like, joke's on you, Dad.
Joke's on you, Dad. I think it was my mom that was finally just like, let her fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like, after I went to school, got licensed, I was still cheaper for post-secondary education than my sister who was going to school to be a teacher. Like, let me, give me some freedom here. Again, I was privileged enough that he was paying for this, but I got an apprenticeship basically right out of school, and then I started managing that shop like really quickly after I'd started working there. Apprenticeship, licensed, and then became manager like pretty early in my career.
How early? A couple of years?
Probably, yeah. Like it would have been like I was probably a hairstylist there for a couple of years and then got bumped up to manager. So like, I'm obviously like doing okay at the thing that you think is not a career. I'm actually succeeding in that way. And then I did that for years and years until
that show that didn't pay you.
Well, it was actually perfect timing because it sucks the way that I think about it now is that I just got laid off from that job because they were closing. I used to work at a corporate salon, and it was inside Zellers, and Zellers was closing down to make way for Target.
Right.
So they didn't have a hair salon, so we had the option of getting a buyout or going to work for First Choice, and I'm like, I'd rather die. So like, couldn't do that because it's just like same company but super different vibe.
You're like, just shoot me now.
Just shoot me now.
Be done
Yeah,
with it.
like. So anyways, I took the layoff. I'm like, this is great. Get some money, get a little bit of severance. And I think I had about a month or so off. And then I was like, obviously, like, for legal reasons, I probably shouldn't say this, but I took most of my clients with me and just did hair at my apartment for a bit.
Ooh, someone's getting sued now.
And then a couple months maybe after that was when I started that first job. And then, I still did clients in between in my house. And then a couple years after that was when Polly Hatter, who owns Deluxe Tattoo and Social Club, wanted me to come work with him, and that was 10 years ago. So I started like, I was in film first, but then I went to work in his shop with him doing hair, and did that until I'm, I still do work at Deluxe Tattoo and Social, Deluxe Tattoo and Social Club.
How is it to?
But it's my balance is
Yeah.
off. Yeah, my balance back then was I was in the shop more, on set less, and now it's the complete opposite. I'm on set more, in the shop less.
My hair knows it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, so do I when I see your fucking banding, man.
Dead right now.
Anyways.
Well, whatever. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Everyone knows.
I appreciate that people have stuck by me in all of this and like stayed loyal to me. Obviously, like if anyone has to go somewhere, like I'm not gonna get pissed off. They always come back, which is great. I have some clients that like when I went to Nova Scotia, I was there for 5.5 months, I think.
My hair and I remember.
And like I have a client who she literally gets like a number 2 on the sides and back, and she has like a mohawk basically. She's got like a cute little lady hawk. She did not get it cut. She let her hair grow. Yeah.
Even I
know.
Even I
like,
had to
again,
go get my hair
my
cut.
parents did.
I got it
Like,
cut once though.
Yeah.
Out
right.
of pure desperation.
Fair.
But
it's a tough balance, but I've got a good, like, I have enough clients to keep me busy through the winter or whenever I'm in between shows, but it's not so busy that it's overwhelming while I'm on a show.
I think the fact that your clients keep coming back, it says a lot about your skill level and how good you are. Yeah, because that's how I feel about you.
It's also like, thank you. It's also like, like having to explain what you want done to someone, even if it's like something relatively simple, or like you get your color done in a brown, you know what I mean? But having to explain to someone every single time you went to somebody new colors to use, or like what we sort of do where we do like a different one on the ends so that it's not just all one color. Even just like the cuts where like you like to have your hair cut with a razor instead of scissors.
And you've done my haircut is like a hybrid. God knows what it is now. 'Cause I know you've just taken like multiple
And
versions
join
of
them
my
together.
hair and just
Yeah.
join them together.
It's
Yeah.
funny every time when you're just like, well, like something like last time, and I'm like, I don't fucking know what we did last time. Like color wise, I
change
do,
it slightly
because color's
every time.
always
Yeah.
like pretty similar.
But that's what I like though. I'm like, here's a problem I'm having. You're
Exactly.
Like, all right,
You're
we'll
like, okay,
alter it this way.
Exactly. We'll do something and we'll make it work.
You're like you think out of the box, whereas I think
Definitely.
some
Yeah.
hairdressers are like, well, that's not the cut though.
Yeah.
You're asking for something that's not the cut. It's like, yeah, because my hair doesn't like the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. My hair only likes a certain portion of this and a certain portion of this, and like mine's the same. Like it's learning how to, as a hairstylist, one of the most like fun things to do is like it's knowing when to break the rules. Because there are rules set in place, whether artistically or scientifically. And there are so many ways you can just bend those rules, break those rules just a little bit, that makes everything work on a person.
Yeah.
You customize that haircut. You're not just doing a bob. You're customizing that haircut to their head shape.
She's talking about my haircut.
I was going to say, she's talking about her ears. Always,
And we're
can we
talking about
thin
my
this
ears.
out? It's puffy right here.
All
And I'm like,
right.
yeah, that
'Cause
your
I have large
ears pushing
okay,
the hair
everyone,
out.
like, are you happy? I've got big ears. I feel like that episode, this is a really old episode of The Simpsons, where Mo is like, "It's my big ears, isn't it, kids?" But meanwhile, he has like the tiniest ears. But that's not me. I'm saying I have big ears, and I mean it, because my hair
They're
just
not that
sort
big.
of like triangles out.
But natural, like anyone's would, right?
Right, I guess.
Like, because you think about it. Like,
But it
your
wasn't
hair
until
comes like this
you
and
that I was like, listen, I don't know what's going on.
yeah,
that
it's just so thick in this one spot. I'm like, girl, it's your ears.
your ears is pushing the hair out.
Pushing the hair
Like,
out.
oh, okay. Well, that's embarrassing.
If I cut it here, it's gonna pop off even more, and it's gonna make it look fucking bigger. Like,
Well, it's a good thing you caught it.
yeah.
So you are in prep right now to do season 4.
Season 4
of
Shoresy.
Shoresy.
Yeah.
Hello. So are you excited to get back on set?
Yes.
And you did Letterkenny too, right?
Not all of it. Fun political fact about Letterkenny.
Hello.
Season 1, I was verbally hired to do Letterkenny season 1.
Ooh, I don't like where this is going.
And because all these tax credits were still so like relatively new up here at that point, the PM, the production manager on that show, didn't understand that because I was northern didn't necessarily mean that I was local, because our jurisdiction's huge.
Yes.
Covers multiple cities. We have a 40-kilometer radius, or at least now radius. So like if you're outside of that, they put you up. You get per diem.
And Letterkenny, she's in Sudbury area.
Yes.
And for anyone who doesn't live in this area,
It's like 120 kilometers away.
yeah, so it's about like an hour and a half drive, but then like they shoot around Sudbury, yeah.
Yeah, so like you're not going to be commuting every single day or whatever. It's funny because, little side note, when like I find some Toronto people when they're up here and we tell them like, oh, we're from like an hour and a half away, and they're just like, and you get hotel, like we do that all the time, and I'm like, your hour and a half is 5 kilometers max of highway in traffic. It's so fucking lit
Yeah.
on that highway. Like you've driven on our highways, they're pitch black. There's moose everywhere, there's deer everywhere. You're going like, it's not just
Beavers.
Beavers. Oh my God. I can't forget about the beavers.
If I ever see a beaver in real life, that would be
You've never seen a beaver in real life?
I don't think I've seen them up close.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the next podcast we're going to go on an adventure. Jen finds a beaver.
Beaver adventures. Oh my God. Right. So anyways.
No, but I've derailed us.
Back to the main point. I was northern. He was like, this is great. I had glowing recommendations from other people. He was going to hire me. And then when he found out I wasn't northern, I got a really weird email saying that they could no longer hire me for the show because I wasn't local. And I was like, that sucks.
Oh my God.
And at this point, no one, like, we didn't even know, necessarily like what Letterkenny was, other than I knew it was like just a fun comedy. So anyways, the deal they made was this makeup artist was allegedly given permission from the union to do hair on that show. It wasn't IATSE, it was NABET.
I feel like I need popcorn for this. Where's my pretzel?
So I was hired as a daily to come in, and so the top of the show, I did the haircuts, kind of prepped that, got everyone ready because she wasn't allowed to cut hair, because she's a makeup artist, and did all that for her. So then she was just kind of styling the hair for the show, and then like halfway through I came back up and did like some continuity haircuts to make sure everyone looked the same.
So you're not good enough to, no, I shouldn't say good enough. You're not appropriate to hire full-time, but they'll still bring you on.
Yeah, because they knew that they had to legally in Ontario hire a hairstylist to cut the hair and color hair.
Which is why they should have hired you.
Yeah.
Full-time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then because of that, so that season ran that way. And then the next season, keep in mind, Letterkenny was very low budget in the beginning. Like, it was a web series. They didn't have a lot of money. They were banking on these tax credits. So like, even though I am a tax credit and they get like half of what they pay me back, I understand why they wanted someone local instead.
So there's all the other expenses.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because then I'm just like, yes, I'm northern, but I'm also need hotel. I need per diem. So it's not going to it's just not as cheap as they want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go back for a couple of other seasons though, as a key, under the head of department that sort of started on season 2. I believe she would have been the first time she was the head of department on it. So I got to work with her a couple of times, which was awesome. It's such a fun show to work on. Like, it's funny. It's the one season I did, the days are so short. Like
Yeah.
the season I did, and I don't even remember which one it was, but it was the first time that they shot over 12 hours. And they celebrated it because they were like, we've never done this before. So it was cool, right?
I did stand in for a few seasons on that show, and yeah, they were like
You
a
get to-
well-oiled machine.
Absolutely.
There's
They know
also-
what they want. Everything's simple. It's a couple of angles, you're done. You move on. One season I did, they actually had to like, they told us to take a 40-minute break, not lunch. Just go fuck off for 40 minutes because we were ahead of schedule. And if we don't fill our days up, the network won't give us the same amount of money next year.
It's actually incredibly impressive because the amount of pages that they shot in a day were like 20 pages
Yeah.
on average, I would say.
Absolutely.
And
At
so
least.
like the actors had to be on it like so much, and then the crew around them also were like worked really well together
Yeah,
because they came back season after season.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
Jared,
they're also very loyal with
Yeah.
their people for sure.
Jared, the creator, and then the main actor, him and the director worked really well together.
Yes.
They made decisions so quickly.
So quickly, and so it was such a funny set to be part of. Like, and it's funny like being behind the monitors and like you try not to laugh. Obviously, you don't want to ruin everything. But like when the director is like pissing his pants, laughing every single take, like, you know.
I remember one time we were setting up, and oh boy, the two skids. I'm sorry, I can't remember their character names now. But the two skids were rehearsing, and they literally did like the most ridiculous entrance because they changed it up every time. And Jacob, the director, was just like, "This is ridiculous." He's like, "All right, go ahead." So he just sort of gave them free range to do whatever,
to do
which
what they
totally
want,
worked.
what feels right,
Yeah.
you know.
So having it with it having been the same creator, is it like a similar vibe on set for Shoresy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Set for sure. It's like the shooting style is different. Like we're shooting it a little more. Like Letterkenny was very like, like camera faces them, maybe some side shit, but like nothing too busy. Not like a bunch of different sizes and things. Shoresy still has like a little feel of that to it, where they don't overcomplicate things. It's very they're very basic but nice shots. They do a couple takes and they get what they need. But it's shot. It has much more of a storyline. Like there's something more to follow with Shoresy,
Right.
which is good. Which is why I think it's doing so well. Is you get the people who loved Letterkenny, who love this. It's similar kind of a humor. It's like, fart and piss jokes all the time.
Yeah.
It's like the Shoresy character comes from Letterkenny, so it's like that sort of a spin-off on that Letterkenny universe. But like it tells more of a story in a way. It's not like each episode is sort of standalone. Like each episode leans into the next one, and then each season leans into the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Season 3 was a lot of fun. That was so far my favorite season of Shoresy.
Because of what you got to do?
Partly, it was the first time I got to like after season 1, everything was pretty well established. Like season 2, we were just, like we made some improvements, but I didn't want to stray too far from season 1 because they still have these character looks that we just wanted to like kind of tighten up a little bit and like maybe make a little more fun, but keep the same vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And then season 3, it was the same sort of thing, but as I was reading the scripts when I first got them in prep, and they start talking about these stupid haircuts or these awful haircuts. I forget how they worded it in the scripts. So basically, they had they have these shitty haircuts, and you don't really understand why. You keep getting all these flashbacks back to the what would have been the no-show party from season 2, like the very end of season 2. They got way too drunk and got into way too much drugs and got too hot. So they needed to alleviate that. So like Jared, like we're shooting in the townhouse, and there's like Jared's wearing his Adidas tracksuit top, but like no bottoms type thing. And he's like, I'm still hot. So they can't figure out why they're still so hot. And then they're like, I think it's my hair. Even though he's wearing a hat and, you could take the hat off. But like anyone who's been high and certain things knows that like, the thinking isn't always as...
Yeah, the common sense leaves the
Yeah,
room.
it leaves the room for sure. So they go back to their apartment and Dolo, one of the other hockey boys, takes out his clippers. It was so funny because we used specifically my clippers for that scene, mostly because it had a cord. I had a pair of corded clippers because in their head, if it's not plugged in, there's no way it can accidentally turn on. Not like a cordless pair
Okay.
that we could be rehearsing it. We have one shot to get this. We cannot fuck this up.
Right.
So anyways, we did a bunch of dry runs, showed them how to hold it. And Dolo's just there shaving. He shaved a strip off of the top of Shoresy's head. And he was like, yep, that's the ticket. That's exactly what he needed. So
Everyone's like,
everyone
thank
else,
God,
thank
we can all
God.
breathe now.
Well, and then the rest of them also had it done too.
And then you would have to keep that up then.
Yes. So like after that scene, that we shot that day one. It was
Oh my goodness.
like I was so panicked about it because I was like, again, if we fuck this up, I have to carry this through 5 weeks. Like they have to wear this for 5 weeks
Right.
in Sudbury. There was a lot of hats when we weren't shooting, obviously. Even when we were shooting, because there was a lot of cases where like, they were supposed to be embarrassed about their haircuts, so they were trying to conceal them.
Did any of them secretly love it and just keep it?
No one kept it, but I feel like it was really funny because when
It's
I was
almost a skullet.
it's
we've
almost
already been
yeah.
talking
It's
about
like
it, so.
if it was a little wider and rounder, it could be like a Friar Tuck mullet. You know what I mean?
No, I've never heard of that.
Friar Tuck is like, he had like the full round, but he still had like hair all the
Oh,
way.
I see. Yes.
Like bald on top, but not the forehead.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up doing it, and then I took them back to base camp and made it so that I could follow it again. So it cleaned it up so that like we didn't have to, every single day get out rulers and measure their hair. Like it was just, it's one swipe.
Right.
It's, there's,
Make it easy for yourself.
it's one length and then one length. There's no different, different levels in there, just to make it easier for us to track it, and keep it the same. Especially with the lighting, because I found sometimes the lighting in the arena was different from the lighting anywhere else. So like sometimes like you could have done a haircut that morning and then you see them on the ice and you're like, what? It looks like they have hair. Like it's weird. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was really interesting, like trying to sort of manage that. Would have been like obviously impossible, but nice to know sort of going into it that the lighting would affect it that much because it's right on top of their heads, not like in a, but Michael's, he was the goalie. I was so surprised he agreed to do it because he was always very, like his hair was very, he's very particular, likes his hair a certain way. It was like just short on the sides and back, but like long enough on top that we would give him like this almost like a pompadour type thing.
Okay.
Right. So I'm like, there's no way he's going to do it. And then he was down and then I think it was him that got like a little bit of cold feet, but then he got more excited about it the closer we got to it. And I remember when he was driving to Sudbury, we talked on the phone for like quite a while just about how funny we could make it. Like he wanted, everyone else would just have that one little strip on top. But he wanted to do an entire strip out of it. Like full, like almost reverse mohawk type deal. We got to learn who looked really good bald.
So this is oh yeah. I would not be a good bald person. I think we've already established
I don't think
this.
you'll have to worry about that. Although we did talk about at our last appointment, I forget why. Doing a Chelsea cut. I think it was you said something about like coming in and doing whatever I wanted, and I said don't do that or you'll end up. Remember the shave?
Oh, right?
It's just the bangs. It's like the women's version of like a skinhead cut almost. It's
maybe in a few years.
Maybe
when I grow into it.
Yeah.
I need the attitude first, I think.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Remember when I taught you how to smoke? I don't know why that just reminded me of that, but
So I think that was for the short
That
film,
was the short film.
Stillborn.
Yeah.
Which you did a wicked, like it was 20s, right?
Yeah.
1920s wave. I don't know what the proper term is for it, but
almost like a fake finger wave type thing to kind of give you a fake bob, because we had it all like kind of pinned up underneath.
I think that's when we met. And then after talking to you about hair and
I think
and my
so.
the issues I was having with my haircut, then I started getting my haircut by you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's still one of my favorite looks.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It's in my portfolio.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. So you are the vice president of the local IATSE 634 union, correct?
Yes.
And what the heck, how did that come to be?
So, as I mentioned earlier about, like the kind of shit shows that we were used to doing up here, before anyone really kind of wanted to put like a bit of a wrangle on the North. It doesn't always happen on non-union shows. Some non-union shows are absolutely amazing. It all depends on who's running that ship, obviously, and it's their choice to be good or to be bad. But so I actually never even thought or considered being like on the board for my union local, but I've always wanted like people to have a voice, and like where people were so good to me getting into it, I wanted to help people also get into it. So it was really funny. We were doing we had a membership meeting that was going to have our nominations at it, and I had no idea who like was even going to be nominated, obviously. And one of my co-workers and friends, Tiffany Boyven-Brawley, she was being nominated for president. And it was really funny because I was outside the hotel in Sudbury where we were doing our membership meetings at, and her father was like, "Hey, I hear you're running for vice." And I'm like, "No." Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, "Oh, just, I heard someone's nominating you for vice president." And I'm like, "No one's nominating me for vice president. I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "I'm going to do it." And I'm like, "What?" Like, what do you mean? And he basically said he wanted, because this is his daughter, obviously. He said that local 634 should have a female president and a female vice president. And he felt that I was strong enough of a supporter to be able to back her up in any way possible. We had sort of like similar ideas of like what we liked or we would like to see come out of the local in the future and all that. So he nominated me when they asked for nominations. 3 of us were nominated for vice president. And you have to accept or reject the nomination. And I just stalled when he said it. And I was just like, I didn't think he was actually serious. But then I was like, no. And I'm like, if he had a good point. I'm all for women in positions like that. I find it's kind of grounding in a way for like, especially a local, to kind of, it's such a male-dominated industry that I found it could give us a little bit of balance there. So I accepted it, and then 3 of us were nominated, and then by a landslide, I won, because everyone had the same sort of, they thought the exact same way. Mm-hmm. They thought that we would be the perfect sort of pair, and that, I'd be able to back Tiffany up and help support her. She's so smart and so thoughtful as well. So like, she's super great in that position. And yeah, so I just wanted to help sort of support her. And then now her and we both run the 634 orientation, like the film orientation, which you have to take in order to become a permit with us. Mm-hmm. Because again, we want to help people break into this industry and give them as many tools as possible to help them know where they even want to go on set.
Yeah.
So
That's
and
amazing.
we're nearing the end of our second term. So even like our last elections, no one else wanted to be put up to be nominated, so the board stayed the exact same.
You're gonna start
the whole time.
campaigning.
No.
You're gonna put a tampon on your ear or whatever the hell they're doing in the States.
What?
A pad.
Is it a Trump thing?
Yeah.
Is it because I got shot?
A little pad on your ear and confuse everyone.
I
You're like,
should.
what the hell is Ashley doing?
My God.
So, given all of your experience and now being vice president, I'm sure you see see and hear of a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like the Northern Crew is taken as seriously as those in Toronto or Vancouver?
Yes and no. That's sort of like a double-edged thing. Like there's certain producers and there's certain other crew members that even come up from Toronto that absolutely love working up here. They want to come up here at any chance they can get. They love the people. They love our skill level.
Mm-hmm.
They want us to come work in Toronto. Like they want to work with us full time. And then there's definitely the air of, you know, like we will never be better than Toronto people. The amount of times that I've been passed up on jobs, not because of my resume, but because of my address, is like concerning, you know.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen super often as much anymore because my resume does speak for itself. But
Like the industry has been here for like 15-ish years,
yeah,
right?
like they can start taking us seriously now. We're
Yeah.
not going anywhere. No one's stealing your fucking jobs. Like we don't want to go. We live in North Bay and Sudbury and
For a
Sault Ste.
reason.
Marie. Yeah, like we don't want to move to Toronto. It's the thing is like, and I actually recently became a permit of 873, which is the Toronto local of IATSE, and it's such a crazy process. Like I had to have like a panel interview. And they were just like, why do you want to come down here? Like, you know what I mean? Like they were so confused
Like I don't
because
really.
like I don't get put up in Toronto because they
Right.
can grab any other hairstylist that lives down there. But I was like, as someone who's been heading a department for a long time up here, I want to have the experiences of starting at the bottom in Toronto and learning from people who have been doing this for like 30 years, not just,
Right.
you know, like I've been doing this for 13 years now. And like it would be like, I obviously when there's a head of department that comes up from Toronto, like again, I do still learn from them, which is amazing. To me, it's kind of a wasted experience if you don't learn at least something.
Good or bad?
Good or bad, absolutely. Good can be, you know, bad can be good in different ways. But there's certain people will never ever take us seriously at all, just because we're new, and I'm like we're established now, and like I've worked in the 849 jurisdiction, which is in Nova Scotia, and it was so refreshing being there because it literally felt like I was shooting in Northern Ontario.
Oh, cool.
So I know it's not just us that's cool. It's just they're a similar size as we are. They're a similar type of people. There's less ego out there than there can be in Toronto. And again, I am very fortunate and thankful for every experience that I've gotten from like a Toronto headed department. I've been very fortunate. I've never had a really shitty headed department. Some people have. I've been very lucky in the fact that like I've worked for people that want to put their knowledge into me. Not everyone's as lucky. But yeah, there's just like, it's interesting because to become a permit of 873, like technically I should be able to become a sister member. I'm a sister member out east.
Right.
But in Toronto, even 873 doesn't take us seriously enough to let us become sisters.
Wow.
Yeah, it's you're a permit or you're a member. There's none of that in between.
Is that because there's so many people
There
in
are
Toronto?
a lot of people. They're very picky with who they let in, which is good
Yeah.
because they're getting in like very skilled, very qualified people. But it's funny because there's a lot of like 873 permits that try to either in our membership drives come up here and become members because they're like, oh, we'll get into 873 easily, and even they don't. They're still not in 873.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's not the loophole that 873 allows, which is fine.
It's nice to hear that things are, and I feel the same way. Like, I think a number of years ago, not me specifically, but like getting auditions and stuff here is, you know, I know for a fact that we weren't always taken as seriously as what we are now. So I do feel like that there has been
it's getting
big
better
shift.
for sure, which is really, really good. It still has a long way to go. And it's interesting too, because like even during my panel interview, like when they were asking about my experiences and things, and I said I have a lot of experience for Northern Ontario, and they were just like, what does that mean? And I'm like, it means we don't get Star Trek, bitch. Like, I'm sorry, but like the shows we don't get $200 million shows, studio shows up here. So like, to me, in my jurisdiction, I'm one of the more experienced hairstylists. I've got a lot of shows under my belt in many different positions. But in Toronto, like, you guys get massive shows that like I couldn't even touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
the
so like, don't come at me with your fucking attitude. Right. Like,
oh man. You have been nominated 4 times for Canadian Screen Award.
Yes.
And what the heck? What was the first nomination that you got? Like, what show was it
the
for?
first one was for Cardinal season 3.
Cardinal, I have to say, was near and dear to my heart. Like,
everyone still misses that show.
Yeah.
It was the best set to be on. Like, the producers were really cool. All the actors were really cool. We only had one diva the entire run. And like, he wasn't even that bad. It was just like surprising because we were like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, this doesn't know what he's getting himself into. Like, Billy Campbell, just such a fucking good dude to work with. He's like, he had like a sailboat in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. He also worked on like a fucking cucumber farm in like Norway.
No,
just
really?
Super like down to earth, like super chill dude. So much fun.
That's awesome. And so, whose hair specifically did you do to get that nomination?
I did most of the main cast on season 3. The way that they do their nominations, like, we sort of have to like choose like a 4-minute section of one episode. So you just have to find one that has like either like the most of your characters in it or whatever, and do like a little write up on it of saying like, you know, like, this is why I chose this, or this is what this means. But they put you up for nominations, and then there's a membership, like the Academy membership votes on who's going to be like put up as a nomination.
That's cool. And
yeah.
What were the other ones? What were the other shows?
I don't. For me?
Yeah.
Oh, so the following year, I got nominated for season 4 of Cardinal. Also Trickster and Happy Place.
Oh, nice.
Happy Place shot in between season 4 of Cardinal and Trickster. It was like a little, a feature that we shot. We shot that in Muskoka area. And then...
Well, your dad should see it as a real profession now, huh?
Yeah, seriously. I remember posting something on Facebook once about how like, or maybe it was, I don't remember what it was. It was some sort of social media about like, I don't even remember what the exact words were, but something along the lines of like, for the people that like didn't believe in you when you were young, or when you had like your, you know, like young ideas or whatever. And I remember him even commenting on it, being like, is there someone that like...
Did someone hurt you? You're like, yeah, Dad, this is for
there
you.
Someone that didn't think you could, that you were like gonna do well or something like that? And I was like, fucking you, man. Like, what? How high are you? Like... not at all. He's never smoked weed. It's really funny. He should. He really needs to.
He's the one person who should.
He talks about how many weed shops there are in North Bay and how it's so crazy. And I'm like, yeah, you should fucking go in one time. You need to chill.
Well, Ashley, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate it. I feel like I could talk to you for another like
1,000%.
4 days
Yeah,
straight.
totally.
We probably have so much more to cover, but we're gonna leave it at that for now.
Yeah, I'm a rambler, so it definitely my answers might take a little longer than they should, but
That's fine. I like rambling. That's what
Great.
the podcast is about.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
And if you want to follow her, there will be her handles in the show notes, and you should go find her dark memes. Because that's basically why I follow you.
Some of them are for my close friends. I've tried to weed as much out as possible for that reason. But
well, maybe you should become her close friend, and
yeah.
then you'll have access to them. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.